Hi, I'm Joyce, and this is Humanities 102. I'm doing a video project, and the video project, the story of the book I chose is the interesting narrative of the life of Equiano, the African. This is his narrative. He wrote this book himself, talking about his journey through slavery and bringing a free Englishman. So his early life began in Nigeria, Benin State. He was born in 1745. He came from the Igbo tribe. For culture, the chief led the people. The chief told the people he was the Lord. He made the law. They follow the rule. They have priests. They have medicine men and magicians. They didn't have anywhere to worship. So everybody worshiped their own thing or their own gods or whatever they had to worship. The magician, the priest, and the medicine man were the wise men. And they also have mark of distinctions on their faces to show how important they are. When Ali Huda was younger, he wanted that mark so bad when he get older. But you will see when as he got to England, he said he didn't want to, he wished he was happy he didn't get the mark on his face. For custom, during mealtime, they wash their hands and they pour food and liquor on the floor for the dead to help protect them for evil doing and evil spirits. Tradition, of course, the father is the head of the household. He eats alone and he sleeps in a hut with his male children. The mother sleeps in another hut with her female children, and the slaves sleep by themselves. The slaves always eat by themselves. The marriages are arranged, the marriages are arranged and start at a very early age. So the parents will bring goods like that. They call it diary. They'll give the female parent slaves, land, household, and other supplies. So at the age of 11, Aliano was captured by African slave traders. He and his sister were actually captured while he was playing. His parents went out to hunt and look for food, and they were home alone and they got captured. He and his sister spent the night together and they separated the next day. So a couple of days later, he saw his sister and they were so happy together. They held hands, they were crying, they missed each other. But the next day, they separated. That was the last time he saw his sister. So he went and he traveled. They took him to so many other African countries. He stayed with other African slave masters in Africa. They mostly treated him nice because at 11 he was a child. So at one story he said in the book, one of the master's son, during mealtime, they always allow him to eat first because he was older than the child. In his own culture, that's how they are. If you're the oldest child, you eat first. They show you respect, and it really brought memories at home with his family, when he was home with his family. So after he left Africa, they traded him. He was bought by the European and he got on the Middle Passage. In this passage, they treated African slaves horribly. The condition was deplorable. People were being suffocated. They were being beaten. Slaves were jumping overboard to escape the life of slavery. To escape the life of slavery, they preferred death over slavery. There was one instant they rescued one of the slaves and they beat him so badly. I think they beat him to show other slaves that it is not allowed to jump in the water or try to escape because the consequences would be great. During the slave passage, women got raped. When he saw the white people, he thought they were horrible people. He thought they were going to eat him. So he finally arrived in Virginia, in the Caribbean. When he arrived in the Caribbean, he was shipped off again to Virginia, where he worked on a plantation. One day, a lieutenant from Great Britain by the name of Michael Pascal came over and bought him and put him on the slave ship. And they took the journey to England. While on the slave ship, he encountered so many people, nice people. The people that taught him how to read, they communicated with him, they learned how to speak English, he learned how to write, and he was even baptized in English by Mr. Pascal's cousins, and they taught him also how to read. So his mindset started to change about the white people when he encountered all these nice people. And furthermore, when he went to England, he saw how great England was. They wasn't eating each other. They were very productive. It was developed technology-wise. So his mindset started to change. So he started to praise England for all their development, all their kindness to him. So he got baptized. When he got baptized, he used his Christian faith to help abolish slavery. He questioned the British, about their faith in slavery and used that against them to help work on the abolishment of slavery. He wrote his book and talked about his experience throughout his life, what he encountered. So after the war, the 7-year war with the French, Equiano was sold again. Pascal sold Equiano to another master. Within a short period of time, he was sold to a Quaker. The Quaker promised him if he worked hard enough and earned X amount of money, he would be free. And he took that to heart and really worked hard and earned that money and bought his freedom. He was so liberated. He was finally free. But being free as a black man with a paper is different from actually being free, because paper is just a paper. But as long as your skin color determines your destination at that time. So he wasn't technically free, even though he was captured so many times because of his skin color and people put him back into slavery. Even though he knew within himself he was free, he had bought his own freedom. So there's so many scenes. As I said, I talk about the passage, the middle passage, how slavery was being killed, women were being raped, children were being killed, they were dying from diseases. This was a horrible situation, reading the book. And him leaving his family, leaving his sister, and would not be able to see his sister. When they finally separated he and his sister, that was also horrible in the book. But along the way, that's when he was doing the 7 years with Pascal, he met so many people that helped him along the way, to help him to become an Englishman. And he was finally, at the end, he was finally an Englishman. So Mr. Pascal changed his name from Jacob to Gustavus Vasa. As I said, when he was in Africa, he wanted that mark of distinction on his face. But as he became an Englishman, he didn't want the mark on his face anymore. He was glad he didn't get the mark. My only stuff I was thinking about, like, there was domestic slavery within African culture, within the African community. But then when African themselves was selling black African to the European. So if he was talking about slavery was wrong, why his people were selling their own people? That was my only concern, because it started with in-house. It started with being domestically selling slavery. That's how it started. So I recommend this book to anyone. Of course, I recommend this book to anyone. It's a very interesting read, educational read. It teaches you about slavery and how it started in his journey, Equiano's journey from slavery to becoming an Englishman. For my own culture, how do I relate with this? When I was younger, I used to go to the village to spend time with school closed, to spend time with my grandmother, and we used to go farming. We used to plant plantain, like yam, edo, and all these foods I still eat today. So when I was reading about the village, his simple life, I thought about my culture, my people in my country. And also, I was separated from my mother during the war in my country. There was a war from 1990 for so many years. So while we was leaving our house, we got separated. It was gunfire, and my aunt pulled me, and my mother went somewhere else. From this day, I haven't heard from her. I don't know if she's dead. I haven't seen her. So I relate with him being separated from his sister, being separated from his mother. And thank you.